Yeah, I'll react to that, sure. Hey guys, Mark Felton, awesome channel. The King's Bodyguards, episode 1. Episodes. The Yeomen of the Guard. Let's go. My name's Connor. Hi, I like to learn about things. The original link to the video, top of the description. Below that, link to the Discord. Love to have you. Let's go.
You have probably noticed that the rituals and ceremonies surrounding the death of Queen Elizabeth II and the accession of her son as King Charles III involves a lot of soldiers in different uniforms. It is quite a dizzying and confusing spectacle.
I remember watching it or reacting to it, and I wanted to ask so many questions on the different uniforms.
Most are familiar with the famous Foot Guards regiments of the British Army, who wear the tall bearskin caps and wear red tunics. The 5 regiments are the Grenadier, Coldstream, Scots, Irish and Welsh Guards, and contrary to what many people think, these are in fact regular infantry soldiers who serve on operations all over the world. They only wear the ceremonial full-dress uniform when their units are selected to perform royal duties at the palaces at Buckingham Palace, Clarence House, St James's Palace and Windsor Castle, and also at the Tower of London. Supporting them is the Household Cavalry Mounted Regiment, formed of the red-tunicked Life Guards and the blue-uniformed Blues and Royals. The rest of the Household Cavalry is an armoured reconnaissance unit manning light tanks on operations. The Household Cavalry Mounted Regiment provides the monarch with a mounted escort for occasions such as the state opening of Parliament and Trooping the Colour, the monarch's official birthday parade. They also form a mounted guard at Horse Guards, the official entrance to the royal palaces. But the Foot Guards and the Household Cavalry Mounted Regiment are not the only royal bodyguard units. There are several other, much more ancient units that perform special ceremonial roles on state occasions, most notably during the period following the Queen's death. The oldest of these is the King's Bodyguard of the Yeomen of the Guard, dating from 1485 and headquartered at St James's Palace in London. Today the unit consists of 6 officers and 60 yeomen, all of them retired armed forces veterans, who must have completed 22 years in the Army, the Navy, the Royal Marines or the Royal Air Force, and hold a Long Service and Good Conduct Medal. They may serve in the Yeomen of the Guard until the age of 70. British monarchs have always had bodyguard units, and the Yeomen of the Guard seems to have developed out of this ancient tradition. The official year of establishment is 1485, a very important year in English history. For in 1485, King Richard III, the last Plantagenet king, met the usurper Henry Tudor in a battle for his crown at Bosworth Field. As well as his noble knights and archers, Richard also had a special bodyguard of 138 yeomen. Henry Tudor, likewise, also had a small force of yeoman bodyguards in addition to his knights and other soldiers. Richard III famously lost the battle, being killed as he valiantly charged forward to try and engage Henry in one-to-one combat, and Henry took the crown, declaring himself King Henry VII, the first monarch of the House of Tudor. One of the reasons why Richard failed to close with and fight Henry was because of the excellent defence put up by Henry's yeoman bodyguard unit, who indeed brought down the king and killed him. Henry rewarded their courage by forming them into the Yeomen of the Guard. The size of the guard grew to 300.
Not gonna lie, it would have been really cool if like the 2 guys had a one-on-one sort of battle,
yeomen,
but obviously
into the Yeomen of the Guard.
Not practical.
The size of the guard grew to 300 yeomen under his son Henry VIII, but was later scaled back due to financial considerations. These yeomen were always with the king, escorting and guarding him, patrolling the palaces at night, and taking part in ceremonial parades and events. One of the most famous occasions when they actually saved the king was the Gunpowder Plot of 1605, when King James I narrowly avoided being blown up when he was to address the Houses of Parliament. The Yeomen of the Guard, patrolling the cellars beneath the Palace of Westminster, discovered many barrels of gunpowder and some of the plotters. The yeomen continued to serve successive English and then British monarchs in these capacities until 1813, when they were basically stood down, until Queen Victoria replaced them completely in 1837 with proper regular bodyguards. Today, the yeomen of the Guard still wear Tudor uniforms of the style originally worn at the time of Henry VII. All are armed with a type of sword called a partisan. They also carry pikes. The officers wear a more modern uniform, in fact a 19th century army officer's uniform of a red coatee, blue trousers and a cocked hat with white swan's feathers. The captain of the Yeomen of the Guard, the commanding officer, carries a gold stick as his badge of office, while the other 5 officers carry silver sticks. This unit musters about 8 times a year. In the next episode, we will meet the Yeomen of the Guard's strangely similar cousin, the Yeoman Warders of the Tower of London. Many thanks for watching. Please subscribe and share, and also visit my video channel, Mark Felton Productions. You can also help to support both of my channels at PayPal and Patreon. Details in the description box below.
Let's do number 2.
In episode 1 of this series, we met the Yeomen of the Guard, the ancient royal bodyguard unit founded by King Henry VII in 1485, following his victory over King Richard III at Bosworth Field. However, another very similar unit also exists today, also dating from 1485. Its full title is a bit of a mouthful: the Yeoman Warders of His Majesty's Royal Palace and Fortress of the Tower of London, and members of the Sovereign's Bodyguard of the Yeoman Guard Extraordinary, which must win some kind of award for verbose naming. However, the unit's title reveals something that many people don't realize. The Tower of London, that ancient fortress first begun by William the Conqueror, a place of imprisonment for those who fell into royal disfavor and place of execution for the likes of many, including one of my own ancestors, Anne Boleyn, was and still is a royal palace.
Really? Mark?
That's why, in addition to yeoman warders, the tower is also guarded by a detachment of regular troops from one of the 5 regiments of foot guards mounting the guard at Buckingham Palace. It retains its royal palace designation because of what's held inside a building called the Jewel House.
So far I've gotten a sort of Secret Service type deal, you know?
This designation because of what's held inside a building called the Jewel House, the British Crown Jewels. In 1509, during the reign of King Henry VIII, a permanent detachment of 12 Yeomen of the Guard were based at the tower, and from this detachment the title changed to Yeoman Warders, and a new corps was founded quite separate from the Yeomen of the Guard, discussed in episode 1. The Yeoman Warders grew to 405 men, providing a permanent guard at the tower. Over time, the Yeoman Warders have evolved from castle guards and prison warders into a purely ceremonial unit today, whose job it is to meet and greet visitors, conduct guided tours, and undertake the ancient ceremony of the keys each evening. More on that in a moment. Today, the force numbers 1 chief warder and 32 yeoman warders. Like the Yeomen of the Guard, all must be retired warrant officers of the armed forces with a minimum of 22 years' service and hold the Long Service and Good Conduct Medal. For hundreds of years, they have been known as beefeaters. The origins may lie with Cosimo III de' Medici, the Grand Duke of Tuscany, who was at court in 1689, and made the comment, quote, "A very large ration of beef is given to them daily at the court, and they might be called beefeaters." End quote. All the yeoman warders and their families live inside the Tower of London, where they have their own pub. The first female warder was appointed in 2007. When working, the yeoman warders wear a simplified blue and red undress uniform, but in their full state dress, or Tudor dress as it's called, it is virtually identical to that of the Yeomen of the Guard. Each night, an ancient ceremony occurs in the tower, the ceremony of the keys, when the main gates are locked for the night. It is the oldest military ceremony in the world. One of the warders carries the title Yeoman Warder Raven Master. The Tower of London ravens are world famous, and the legend says that if the ravens ever leave the tower, the monarchy will fall.
Jeez.
Since the time of King Charles II, at least 6 ravens have been held captive at the tower. In the next episode, we will meet the Honourable Corps of Gentlemen at Arms, which...
Okay, I should have connected that immediately. So if you keep them somewhere, they can never leave, and then you won't have people thinking you're going to fall because the ravens are gone. Okay.
In the next episode, we will meet the Honourable Corps of Gentlemen at Arms, which date back to 1509 and form yet another Royal Bodyguard unit.
Okay, guys, I'm going to do these in twos, okay? So I'm going to watch the next one, but I'm going to do it in a different video. So I don't do, excuse me, all the same content in one day. Hope you guys are doing well. I'll see you next time. Bye, guys. Oh, really appreciate any answers to any questions I might have had or any comments in general, all right? Bye, guys.